welcome to another episode of Screen Heroes. I am Ray. I am joined by my two wonderful magical hosts, Ryan.
Hello.
And Derek.
I thought we were muggles, personally. But...
Alright, so Derek's not going to participate tonight because we're already at the sass level.
The sass level.
The sass level has already hit that. So
critical mass at this point.
How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Welcome.
Yeah. Well, I thought we should wish everybody in the United States a happy Thanksgiving, because that's when this episode comes out.
It does.
Yeah, if you're listening to this episode on Thanksgiving, then thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving.
We're thankful for you if you're listening.
Aww,
only if you're listening to this episode
are.
on Thanksgiving, though. Anybody else, we're less thankful.
If you're listening to it on Black Friday, then Godspeed.
Thank you for not going to Walmart.
I am thankful to anybody who listens to our show who is
Derek is the
listening to
only
it
one.
to enjoy it.
Derek is the only one. I'm only thankful for you if you're listening on Thanksgiving.
I'm thankful for you two because I get to do the show because of you guys.
Aww.
I like that.
I would like to say I'm thankful for you too, but you make me go see movies I don't want to see, so...
You've also made us see movies we don't want to see.
Like maybe once?
I will dig through our episodes and I will find one that I was not okay
I'm pretty
with.
sure there's not any, actually.
I have to be honest. I can't think of one.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure that hasn't happened.
So this is episode 140. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I can't think of one.
Here's the thing. At the beginning of the year...
You set up the schedule and I just
I send you guys a massive amount of films for the upcoming year. You guys rule out the absolute not going to happen.
Here's what I want to know. Why are we reviewing this instead of Creed 2? That's what, I mean, I know it wasn't out the same weekend, but...
Well, that would be why.
Dang it.
That would be the reason. That was the movie that came out this past weekend that we thought was worth reviewing. We could have reviewed Widows or the Marky Mark film. Instant Family.
Yeah,
Instant Family. That's the one. But we thought, I guess this one fits.
We
our
did review the
genres
original
more.
Fantastic Beasts, I think, didn't we?
We
the first
did,
one, yeah.
and that is why we decided to do it this year. Number 3 will be out in 2020, and I have a feeling we're not going to review that one based on everybody's just meh opinion about this. It's just so meh.
All right, that's interesting. Okay, well, happy Thanksgiving was the point I was trying to make.
Full circle. Episode over, guys. Love you. Now, so this week's box office, Fantastic Beasts 2, of course, won. It was going to win. It never was not going to win.
There's literally nothing else to see.
The Grinch, which also debuted this weekend.
No, it didn't.
No, it's the second week?
At least.
Okay.
I think it came out on the 9th.
Okay, that's fair. So this is the second week for the Grinch, and it's okay. Not a lot of people seem to like it, but of course people are taking their kids. And then Bohemian Rhapsody came in third.
My favorites when I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed and I see why the new Grinch is terrible, followed by why the new Grinch is better than Jim Carrey. It's like just back to back, completely different opinions. But
yeah,
Bohemian Rhapsody was good. We talked about that one last week before?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Last week with Stanley.
Right.
So, not a lot of news. We usually just have a ton of news that comes out, but not a ton this time around. Rumor has it that the Avengers 4 trailer will drop sometime this weekend, possibly Friday, which is tomorrow if you're listening to the podcast, with the official title.
So is Marvel trying to stop people from shopping on Black Friday? Is that what the goal here is? People will sit at home in front of their computers?
Just waiting all day long.
See, I thought the official Avengers 4 title was Untitled.
Love that.
I like it.
That's what they should do. That would really throw everybody off.
Avengers Untitled. Guys,
Thanos
we told
snapped
you.
away the title, half the title, 50%.
Or it'll just be Avengers 4. They could do it. Iron Man got numbers.
Yeah, it's fine.
So
I don't think it really needs the subtitle. Like, I'm fine with it.
it could just be Avengers Infinity War 2. Because it is basically the second part of that movie.
It is, yeah.
I mean, that...
I always thought it, like, the first one should be Infinity Gauntlet, and this one should be Infinity War, but whatever. Who the fuck am I?
You're just this random person, just like me and Derek, talking about crap on the internet.
Read a bunch of fucking comics. I know nothing.
It's true. I've always said that about you.
I know.
It's
You're
harsh.
the Ygritte, I don't know her name. Say it, my Jon Snow.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll take it. She was awesome.
Great Game of Thrones reference. All right, so
I don't know how you say her fucking name. Like,
it's fine. It's fine. What else we got?
I mean, seriously, the new Dumbo trailer dropped and made everybody's hearts break. Because that Baby Mine song is so intense.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
So Dumbo was one of my favorite movies as a kid. The Dumbo ride at Disney, it was my favorite Disney ride as a young child because we lived in Miami. And so like Dumbo has a very special place in my heart, and I don't know that I want to see this. I don't. It's depressing enough in cartoon form.
Most Tim Burton films nowadays I just pass on because they look recycled. They look just the same color palette, the same storyline, everything. This looks different. I have all my faith in Colin Farrell, in Eva Green, in Michael Keaton. And
But where are Johnny Depp and
they are nowhere
Helen?
to be found. Like, not even in sneaky IMDb credits.
Maybe they're both playing different parts of Dumbo. Like one's Dumbo, one's the ears.
Okay.
It's like a Megazord. One of them controls the left foot.
Sass level.
I'm feeling a little sarcastic tonight. I apologize.
Anyway, some Batman-esque news. Titans dropped a new Batmobile look, and it looks awesome. Looks like a lot of fun.
I haven't watched it,
then-
but this week's episode is called Jason Todd, so it's all
I
about
wonder what
the
that's
new
about.
Robin. I'm hoping we get to see him get his head bashed in with a...
No, they put it there. They're putting it to a poll like they did decades ago. No, like that sounds like a joke, but that's actually what they're doing.
No way.
Yeah, I swear I've been reading about it. They are doing another poll.
I seriously thought you were continuing with the sass level.
No, this is legit. Now, to be fair, I didn't go into too much detail because I'm behind on Titans and I don't really want any spoilers. So I don't know if it's a poll for Jason Todd or just a Robin, but it's definitely a poll in the spirit of the one they did for Jason Todd
Wow.
30-ish years ago.
Well, it was rumored
So-
that Red Hood was going to be the villain of the last half of the series. Of
Okay.
the season 1.
Yeah.
Like
They
Joker
haven't announced...
Red Hood? Like,
Not
the-
like Red Hood. Jason
Oh,
Todd Red Hood.
alright.
So I haven't seen the episode. From what I was told, it seems like that's a long shot, but they haven't announced the last 4 episodes or something, the titles, and the rumor, or the leak or whatever, said that one of those was Under the Red Hood or The Red Hood, something along those lines. So
Interesting.
It does feel like a lot to have to introduce Jason Todd, kill Jason Todd, and then have him come back as Red Hood
Within
all
5
in one.
episodes.
Yeah.
But isn't the actor only like 12?
yeah, he's very young.
Yeah.
You got to see him at the end of this last episode, and I was like, okay, he's like a kid.
Yeah.
The only thing I could see happening is him pushing Dick Grayson to turn into Nightwing now, because right now they're both kind of using the Robin mantle, and that's
And
a little weird.
thought they confirmed that he becomes Nightwing at the end of the
they
season.
did. Well, I don't know if they confirmed it, but I mean, it's pretty...
Okay.
There's been a lot of things come out.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't make sense to rush. Like, there's so many stories they could tell. Like, just slow it
But
down.
who doesn't want to see Jason Todd get his head bashed in? I mean, come on.
I mean, is he 12?
Well, if
or...
that's the case, then he needs to stay dead for some time. So when
Yeah.
they bring him back as like an adult and not a child. That's all.
the
Yeah, I
Lazarus
don't think they'll
pit
be doing
ages
it,
him
but-
up, and I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they'll eventually make it so the Teen Titans, or the Titans have been together for 5 years now.
They'll
and,
jump ahead.
Between episode 6 and 7, it's going to be a time jump.
So that's a weird strategy.
Yeah,
Here's a whole new cast of people.
right.
All for this one character.
Yeah,
It's
just 'cause
not
we
even
wanted
a
Red
main
Hood.
character.
Wow.
Right. That seems like a long shot when you already have some really good characters.
The
Seems
Batmobile looks
unnecessary.
cool, though. They did.
Yeah.
It does. I like it a lot. I like the fins on the back. Kind of makes it look like the bat ears on the cowl. I love it. I actually really like this Batmobile design.
So you guys haven't watched any of Titans, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Well, then I'm going to refrain from spoilers, but they are like getting closer to what it seems like they're going to show Batman at some point. They haven't yet. They've kind of had silhouettes of Bruce Wayne and, you know, the Wayne Enterprises buildings and stuff like that, but
It seems like it would be weird for them not to. All the animated versions of Teen Titans or Young Justice have included Justice League members and other adult superheroes. So maybe not in the first season, and that's fine.
but they won't let Arrow use
Well, this
use
is
Batman.
Keep in mind though, this is like direct DC Entertainment versus
Okay.
CW, Warner Brothers working with CBS. You know, so
Still doesn't make much sense to me, but
I mean they have more creative control. There's probably a larger budget for this show than there is for the CW shows.
I don't know about that based on the stuff I've seen. But
you have a better sense of that. But I feel like the CW is constrained because it has, lower viewership numbers because it's not one of the primary networks. So, that's all. They need to sell subscriptions here, right? Anybody can just sit down and watch something on the CW, but if you need to sell subscriptions, if you're not selling enough and you want to throw Batman in there, I'm sure that'll give you a spike, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it. Anything else?
They did release some synopsis of the Elseworlds episode of the crossover. Apparently Batman has been missing for 3 years, and that's their lazy-ass explanation as to why Batwoman is in this and not Batman.
From this Earth, whatever Earth that is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, though. From what I was describing, and I read it very quickly earlier today, but they are their Earth 1 selves, but in switched roles. It's the same person. So it's not an Elseworld version of Oliver Queen that we see as Barry Allen. It's Earth 1.
This is so Barry Allen.
So it's like a Freaky Friday. Arrow? It's like Freaky Friday or something.
Right. So Grant Gustin is playing Barry Allen as Arrow, or is he playing Oliver Queen as Arrow?
Well, in the little teaser, they Iris called Oliver Barry Allen.
Okay, so they've just switched which role they're playing,
right?
As actors,
and for some reason, Supergirl can see. She still remembers the Earth 1 versions and can see that they're different and things are mixed up.
Okay.
And supposedly Martian Manhunter is in this one, so that's good for you.
That is great.
That makes you really excited.
Yeah, he is awesome.
It's Superman fights a black-suited version of himself. It's not just this Earth's Superman, I guess. I don't really know how it's all going to work. But this is all very convoluted. So.
Well, because Elseworlds is a weird concept in the comic books because they're meant to be these kind of self-contained, segregated stories. Right. So to have them try and tie this into their current canon, whatever the Arrowverse canon, is gutsy. I mean, it's one of the riskier things that they've done, to be fair.
They did release a Batwoman preview trailer.
Oh, really?
Earlier today. It's I mean, basically you've seen everything that's in it, other than there's a close-up of her mask, cowl, whatever you want to call it. But, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty much stuff you've all seen before. But still, I mean, it's cool. Gets excited for the character.
Fair enough.
No ShazamGate news this week, unfortunately.
Dun, dun. Yeah. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, I wish we would hear more about that.
There's apparently another trailer coming soon.
There was I saw a trailer before my version, or my preview for Fantastic Beasts. Did you guys have
the same
Shazam
trailer? Or a new one?
It wasn't a new one. It was the same one. But did you guys have any?
We did not.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate. But
yeah.
The final trailer for Aquaman dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That looks fun. It's different.
It looks like an enjoyable film.
It looks like 3 different films to me based on the 3 trailers that they've released, which is kind of unnerving to me. I mean, I have a lot of faith in the director, but it just seems weird.
It's possible they had 3 different editors, but I am curious what the cohesion is between them.
Well, I think I've used this example before, right? But it's the White House down problem, where the marketing department isn't sure how to position the film to us as consumers because the DCEU hasn't been well received overall. And so they came out with their first trailer and they gauged some reactions and took some surveys, and they're like, all right, well, people liked this and didn't like that, so let's rewrite it and do it this way. White House Down had 2 different main trailers. One looked like Olympus Has Fallen, a very serious thriller, and the other looked like Bad Boys meets Die Hard. And one of those was accurate, and one of them wasn't.
See, for me, it's the Kick-Ass problem, because when Kick-Ass came out, they marketed it as comic book movie, the scary movies, parody movies, which was very far from what it was, and that's why it didn't make much money at the box office, unfortunately. But, yep, same thing. Yeah,
so, I mean, we don't know which... I mean, the movie may be none of those.
We are seeing it a week early, so that's exciting.
Yes, all of us have the Amazon Prime 5-day early tickets.
Yes, so we will actually be putting up a quick movie take of that after we see it. So you can keep an eye out for that. That's our spoiler-free short-form reviews on our YouTube channel. We have a few out there right now. If you go to heroespodcast.com and click on our YouTube button. Mm-hmm. Any more news?
I think that's it.
Probably it.
Yeah. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back.
Do you like Star Trek? Because over at Red Shirts and Runabouts, part of the Heroes Podcast Network, we absolutely love Star Trek. Join us every week with me, one of your regular hosts, Gregory Bosco, as we talk about your favorite characters, your favorite movies, your favorite episodes. We even respond to some of your comments on Twitter and Facebook, at least those that are appropriate for us to talk about online, every Friday. Red Shirts and Runabouts. See you next week.
All right, we're back, guys. Hope you enjoyed that quick little break. Got your bathroom issues all taken care of.
If you did in that short time, man, you are a powerhouse of bathroom using.
That urethra, man.
Yes. You have a superpower.
I don't even know.
And we want you listening to our podcast, so please continue.
So I know you covered some of the financials already, but we didn't really talk about how it fits in with the rest of the Wizarding World films.
No, we didn't.
Right, we were just doing news at that point.
That
so now
is something that you care about more than
anybody
us.
else
So
in the world.
you're the one who usually looks that up, not really me.
I can't care about it more than everybody else in the world, or else the numbers wouldn't be out there.
I said here.
No,
I said
Ryan
in the
said
world.
everywhere else in the world. So
Because I'm pretty sure that none of our listeners really care that much about
I don't know,
this,
maybe
but-
some do.
I'm gonna make it quick, okay?
Please.
Because I think it could. This could possibly affect the future of this franchise. Okay, so as Ray pointed out, it did win the box office. It brought in just over 67 million domestically, 191.5 internationally, which is the highest international percentage of the Harry Potter film. So almost 260. It's not good. So basically, if you look at all of the Wizarding World films, which there are now 10 of.
The HPU.
The HPU.
That's what I like to call
It's
it.
Wizarding Worlds. It's considered the Wizarding World because that's the
I call it
production
the
company.
HPU,
But
so-
that's fine.
And I mean more than J.K. Rowling does. So.
Clearly. So if you look at just opening weekends, of course, we can't look at full box office runs. This is the lowest opening by a pretty good margin. For example, the first Fantastic Beasts opened with just over 74 million, so that's a $12 million difference there, and that was the next lowest. So the Fantastic Beasts films have not been doing well. The last two Harry Potter movies opened with 125 and 169 million, respectively.
Okay, so
So
I have a few different theories as to why these films aren't as successful. They'll probably come out during the podcast because they are, I believe this is an issue of multiple things adding up,
Sure.
as opposed to just one misstep. So we'll discuss that as we go. This is your spoilers warning, guys. We're going to go from here on out talking about anything in the movie. If you haven't seen it, pause, come back to us later. But we've
Not only this movie, but probably the whole Harry Potter universe.
Yeah.
So
And
because
we'll-
there are things that
Absolutely.
are implications through the whole universe.
a ton of stuff is connected.
we'll probably talk about stuff that happened in the Pottermore universe stuff as well, which was not
Absolutely.
in the books and not in the movies. So everything's on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So pause, come back, listen to it, comment below. All right, so let's start with the opening scene. Grindelwald is in New York, and they are transporting him to, I guess, London or England, wherever the Ministry of Magic is. Azkaban, right? Like he's going to Azkaban. He's not staying in New York because he's a British criminal. And of course he escapes because, duh, right?
So back up just a little bit because that bothered me from the get-go. So he's spent 6 months in prison in the United States, and now London's like, look, you got him for 6 months, now it's our turn to get him for some time too. Like, it's a timeshare prisoner.
Yeah. Split custody.
And like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen ever in the real world. I am saying, however, if you have who you believe to be possibly the most powerful person on the planet, maybe keep him locked up the way he is once you get him there.
Yeah.
You know, right? Because if the idea here is to protect people because he did these truly atrocious things, maybe his physical location of who gets to beat their chest over having him is not as important.
Well, the problem is there were clearly double agents. The only one that really got a name was Abernathy, and he is a minor character with very little lines. He still gets a name, though, for some fucking reason. And
I think it's just because Grindelwald says it.
that's true.
So,
But, I mean, he helps him escape.
Yes.
And the scene is probably one of the cooler action sequences out of the whole thing, but for me, it was very difficult to follow. I wasn't entirely sure where everybody stood, who were the double agents and who weren't, and exactly how the polyjuice potion was able to, like, how the slip even happened, like, at what point. So,
well, it had to have been like earlier that day, right? Like when we see the flyer or whatever get disintegrated, shortly around that time frame, I guess. I think what bothered me most was the tongue thing. So if they removed his tongue because he kept getting into the heads of guards, then how did he get in the head of Abernathy? And if Abernathy had been around prior to that point, why wouldn't you have swapped him when you knew that was a problem? Right? So, I don't know.
They may not know that Abernathy was a double agent, and he could have gone willingly. There was a lot of people that followed him willingly.
No. I know.
Oh, okay.
I guess my point is more along the lines of, okay, let me look at it this way. You have this guy who is the most powerful known wizard on the planet, and you post a single guard on him at a time, so there is nobody watching each other's backs. Like, that he has followers, that they're willing to die for him, how persuasive he is, you have to cut out his tongue, but you're only going to keep one guard on him at a time?
Yeah.
I mean, I used to work at a Starbucks, we had more people on staff, you have nobody watching anybody for the most powerful criminal in the world, just kind of seems silly.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of things in that scene were kind of silly. I didn't find it as hard to follow or confusing as you did. I think it was meant to be kind of ambiguous on a lot of the characters. You're not supposed to know necessarily who's double agent and who's not. How many... I'm going to be the first to say I'm not as big of a Harry Potter fan as probably either of you, but how many wizards in the Harry Potter universe can cast spells without any kind of hand movement or speech?
Very few.
Without speech, there's more. Like,
but without any...
But usually there's
But literally, he just sat there and the fly disintegrated, right? He, looked at it. I didn't see him do anything else.
I think that was supposed to be a protective shield they had around him.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
Gotcha.
Because that was part of his prison cell.
Okay.
So he couldn't get out.
See, I took
he couldn't even stand up.
Right. That's what I took it as.
Well, I took it differently, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's
Maybe
fair
it wasn't
too.
explained very well, but...
Now, at the same time, if you're going to put him in that bubble, you still have his pet or whatever that was.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my issue with the entire thing. I feel like that nothing is explained well in the two Fantastic Beasts movies because they had, J.K. was 3 books ahead when the first movie came out, and she stayed that way.
For the Harry Potter movies.
For the Harry Potter movies. There's no book to go off of. We don't, she's writing this as we go. She's going back and scrubbing previous information from the Pottermore website, from previous books, and we're just left with our arms in the air going, well,
so
I think you dropped the ball.
We're going to go right into the heart of the issue with this one because I agree. I think that, she tells in interviews and stuff that she's got it planned out for 7 films or something like that. But this,
5.
however many, this is clearly not the case. I mean, this movie feels like it was thrown together, they took darts and were just like, okay, this is the decision for this character.
So I definitely believe that she has checkpoints of where certain characters need to be by certain times in these books. I do believe in that. And she did get sole writing credit. So I'm assuming she wrote most of this.
Right.
But I think the problem here, though, is she is on a much tighter timetable than she was when she was just writing the novels.
I also just think she doesn't translate, she's better at writing a book. I've read the first, I think, 5 Harry Potter books back when I was a kid. I just don't think that her writing translates to movies. She should have given a story to a script writer.
And that's what happened with the previous. The 7 books were adapted into 8 movies by other people. Now, she was a consultant on all of that, obviously, right? It's her production company.
Yeah, she told them what was important to later on. They wanted to cut Creature out of Order of the Phoenix, and she was like, no, he's important in the 7th book. You have to at least introduce him. So,
but somebody else wrote those screenplays.
Right.
Right. Now you have David Yates directing it. He has now directed.
He's directed every single one since 4.
Since 4. Okay. So I mean, he's directed most
The
of these,
majority of them.
right? 7 of them or whatever. But yeah, I think that the timetable that she's on here doesn't really allow for her to plan as well as she did when she was writing novels, because it takes a lot longer.
I think that's issue number 1. A novel can be 1,000, 1,500 pages, and people will still read it. They will devour it in a couple of hours like they did the others, but a script is maybe 20 pages long, because it's basically just the dialogue. And
I think they're just different skills.
It is.
Right? Like, writing is a skill, sure, but you can be a good book writer and not be a good script writer.
That's why they're usually different people. There are exceptions, right? But usually they're different people.
Yeah.
Usually people who write films are not also novel writers. There's always
and
crossover,
I think this shows
it does
some weakness there.
But some of it here, though, is not as much of the overarching story as simple problems that cause the situation that the movie is trying to cause, right? So here's a good one. Why bring his wand anywhere near him? Why not destroy his wand,
right,
or lock it up in a completely separate building in the Arctic? It makes zero sense that the wand needs to travel with him, because that right there seems incredibly dangerous. Yeah. Right? Because all you need to do is have one, follower, like, I don't know, maybe Abernathy, 3 feet away, hand it to him.
Yep.
Right? If he doesn't have the wand, most of that scene can't happen.
Yes.
Because he needs his wand for most of his powers.
Yes.
Right? So that right there in itself is a problem with the universe as a whole. That somehow these prisoners, like when prisoners in Azkaban, their wands are somewhere in that building, you're kidding me. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do keep guns that criminals have used in the same building that they keep the criminals. I mean, of course, wands.
Not in prisons.
Well, I mean, a lot of times in police stations.
Yeah, but
yeah, you're right.
Those are not the mass shooters, the serial killers, right? Those are this guy,
had weed on him and
right, or he robbed the gas station or like whatever. Right? These are not the most dangerous people in the world. And this guy, as far as we know, is supposed to be number 1. The only person who might be able to match him is Dumbledore, right? And you're going to keep his wand literally 2 feet away from him?
Yeah, that's a bad choice.
I'm not even sure he would have needed that much help to get the wand.
So, issue number 2 comes up with, in my opinion, Newt, Queenie, Tina, and Jacob. And it's because their stories do not matter in this film.
They're basically side characters.
And they shouldn't be. They were the main characters in the first one. They all created a charming little quartet. I really liked how they interacted with each other. It was adorable. But
and Jacob, right? Was Jacob?
Yeah, he's in that, yeah. Okay. But they mean nothing to the Grindelwald and Dumbledore story. If you wanted Dumbledore to be your main character from the beginning, you should have done it. If you want to map out how Grindelwald and Hitler rose to power at the same time, and oh god, look at the details, everybody's Hitler, then you should have done it. You didn't, though. You went with Newt Scamander. You have to develop those characters. You have to continue. They can't be side pieces to your story.
So if you go back and watch our original review of Fantastic Beasts, one of my biggest problems with the movie was Newt, because the actor was very...
Eddie Redmayne?
Yeah, he's...
Mumble acting?
Whatever it is. He just is very stoic all the time. And the character, maybe by design, has no emotion. But it was passable, I guess, for the first movie, but it was a huge problem for me. In this movie, he was just an out-and-out asshole. His brother didn't do anything wrong the whole movie, but Newt just treated him like shit the whole movie.
Well, he is marrying the woman he loves.
That's
supposed to be.
Does his brother know that?
His brother probably... I don't know if his brother knows that, but we're supposed to know that from the first movie.
That's fine, but his brother did nothing... No. That would give Newt any reason to treat him like a jerk. Literally, not even patting the back of his brother when he gives him a hug. And I know it sets up some stupid thing in the end, but come on, it's like a sociopath.
Well, no, I really think that's supposed to be it. We're supposed to believe that he and Lestrange were in love with each other at one point, or he was at least in love with her, and she picked the other brother, and he never forgave his brother for that. Now, we don't know if his brother's aware of that or not. We don't know if that's justified or not, but I think
Or if
that's...
anything else went down or
Even
not.
if that's the case, why would you have your main character just be an out-and-out jerk to everybody, pretty much? Every non-female character.
I think the problem here is both what you're both saying is that they have decided to pick their lead as this character who is on the outside of all of it, right? He doesn't really want to even be involved. He gets involved because they kill the woman that he loved, right? That's when he picked his side. He didn't pick his side earlier when other people were getting killed or anything like that. He picked his side when the woman he loved died. Right? So he's not really, like, he's not the hero that we're used to seeing. He's not the Harry, Ron, and Hermione heroes who will dive into danger at the very first chance they get to save people.
Except that he's got, well, I mean, like, okay, so if he's such a, like, okay, my problem is that he had 3 women clearly in love with him in this movie, it seems like. And
I can only think of 2. Who am I
Yeah.
forgetting?
his assistant?
Yes.
Bunty, yeah.
No, that, yeah, and...
Bunty, Lita, and
Oh, but Lita
Tina.
wasn't really in love with him.
Okay, she obviously had pretty strong feelings
Sure.
for him. Okay, so whatever you want to call it, love
No, you're
or like a
right.
huge crush. This guy that's a huge asshole, like, has obvious big-time social disorders that they never really
And apparently
address.
he has a magic dick.
He has a magic dick that he apparently can enchant 3 women at the same time with. That's his actual wand.
He has... I don't want to get too, like, in the weeds with that one character, but I do think the problem is picking him as your lead when the story that's being told is supposed to be the most epic wizard battle in recent history, if not all of wizarding history.
And then he's
right?
not likable at all, though. That's fine.
No, he's not that likable, but he's also the background character to what's going on, too. Right? Like, we want to see... Like, you can't show us Dumbledore. Like, we've seen old man Dumbledore, and you kind of got away with not really showing us all that he could do because he was 1,000 years old by then. I'm exaggerating, but he was old man Dumbledore, so he wasn't doing all the cool stuff, and we got to see a few small things. This is him in his prime, right? So now we need payoff. You need to show us why is he so damn special.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about Dumbledore a little bit?
Let's
Sure.
talk about Dumbledore.
And I guess... I have to be more specific now, because there's not just one Dumbledore now, right?
Well, we thought there were 3, and Aberforth was the least interesting of all of them. And now, out of fucking nowhere, there's a 4th, and I'm really pissed off about it.
Okay, so my problem with the Dumbledore, like the
The fourth one being the sister that he mentions in the movie. She's in the books.
Ariana.
Thank you.
right,
The 4th
and
is...
Credence.
Yeah.
Why not, but you named the other ones. We didn't name the
Got
fourth
it.
one.
Yeah.
So
That's the sister.
you're trying to, first of all, you're trying to tell me that Jude Law is the same character that was played in the other movies. That's tough to believe. Jude Law was likable and fine in this role,
He was adorable.
but it's a totally different character. Okay, so that's really tough to swallow. First of all, then you're trying to tell me that Ezra Miller is in any way related to Jude Law.
So here's the thing. So I don't like that twist. I think it's a little bit
I don't
lazy
think anybody likes
of a
it.
twist. I also, though, because we have no books to go off of, I don't know if it's true.
That's the problem.
The Phoenix was kind of a telling thing, though.
So
But you
much
can
of it-
get a phoenix. It's a real creature in this world.
I know,
right?
but-
And he's Grindelwald. If Grindelwald can't get a phoenix, who can get a phoenix?
So much of this is predicated on what happens next. We have to wait 2 years for some of this to be further explained. Some stuff from even the first movie to be further explained. And, it's very possible that Grindelwald is lying to get what he wants.
Right.
He is a manipulator. It's very possible that it's 100% true and
It's
he's
just a weird
not
way to
lying
end
and
the
it's
whole
stupid.
movie, like,
Yeah.
if that's a lie. Because then what was the whole point of even saying that? You know what I mean? It's
Well,
not
to-
a TV show
it's-
where you're giving a cliffhanger and you get the next episode in a week or whatever,
Look, I
or
don't-
even a year.
I don't like the decision, right? But it's familiar. Other things have done this, right? Star Trek Into Darkness did it with Khan. Avengers Infinity War is half a movie too. We don't really know how good Infinity War is until the 4th one comes out. And that will answer a lot of the concerns I have for Infinity War, right? This is in a similar situation where they've, on another Star Trek note, creating siblings, like Spock has had 2 siblings created, years later just because it was convenient for storytelling. And in this particular case, we don't know yet if it's true or not, because the only person providing the information is one of the least reliable sources in the universe, right? So we don't know if we can trust him or not.
J.K. Rowling.
Grindelwald. So
I mean, he's obviously a powerful wizard.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
We got that.
so it's got like kind of the Star Wars problem, right? Where there's like four families in this entire universe, and everybody is a part. Everybody that has any
Everybody's
powers is
related
part of
to
those
something,
families.
But that's why I don't think that it's necessarily true. I think that
So you think he's
Grindelwald-
still Lestrange, like they were,
I don't know who he is. He may be nobody. It may be Snoke all over again.
or it's
right?
Rey, right?
Right,
It's Rey.
yeah.
That's what it is.
But it might be something like that, right? But I think the idea was Grindelwald wants Credence to go after Albus because of that blood pact. Grindelwald can't kill Dumbledore any more than the other way around, and he needs somebody who is at least almost as powerful to go after him, and Credence seems to be that person for whatever reason. Right? Maybe there's a prophecy we don't know about because that's a thing in the Harry Potter universe,
They'll
right?
just make one up to fit the narrative.
But I mean, that's what the entire original Harry Potter series is based off of, is one prophecy. Right, that could have ended up being about Neville at the end of the day.
Well, because the prophecy had a safety net built in, let's face it.
But that's the truth, though, right? Like, the entire 7-book series is based off of one prophecy. If they did it again here, I mean, at least that's consistent.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Jacob and Queenie. Because first of all, I'm really disappointed we didn't get a better thought out resolution to Jacob being obliterated.
Thank you. I was so annoyed with that. I'm like, talk
That was
about lazy writing.
horrible.
It didn't stick, or whatever he said. It's
Well,
like,
so
okay,
I have
come
a-
I
on.
didn't
question.
have any bad memories. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
remember
you
that?
did.
But do you remember that being a requirement?
No.
Because, like, I feel like this has had to be used before on people who didn't have horrible times.
Like, I just wanted to see a bit more of it, or just say a bit more of it. Like, Queenie found me in New York, and she spent months trying to dig up those memories and a ton of spells and blah, blah, blah. Just a bit more, as opposed to, she filled me in, and here we are, guys. Like,
Jacob and Queenie were my favorite part of the first movie.
Same
Pretty
here.
much the only part I really enjoyed of the first movie. And what they did with him in this movie was kind of disappointing. Now, Jacob was great. What he was given, he did well. The actor
he's a great actor.
was
Dan
Dan
wonderful.
Fogler is much better than what I thought he was when I
He's
first
on The
saw him
Walking
in
Dead now,
Fanboys, and
Oh
he
my
is.
Yeah.
god, that's the guy
He's
from Fanboys.
Fanboys
Yeah.
and Balls of Fury, and I like.
Hey, watch what you say about Balls of Fury.
Dude, I know you're a Walking
I've never
fan.
seen
but-
Balls of Fury
should.
for good reason. But Fanboys is brilliant. I've
is.
never made that connection. I can't believe that's amazing.
Here's the thing, though, like, completely two different actors. This man has grown. He has a ton of talent, and
And he's yet a different character in The Walking Dead too. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's very got good range.
he tends to get the same roles that like Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill are also up for, and I think he's better than both of them. I'd much rather see.
I like him better than both. Of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with you guys. Those two are my favorite from the first movie.
But
I
what they
really
did
love
with
them.
Queenie in this movie.
Well, I'm gonna get to Queenie. But what they did with him, yeah, I mean, he's a good actor, and you can only act with what they've written for you. But he's almost useless. You know, he's really only there because of Queenie's story, and Queenie's story is really frustrating in its own right. So, you know, having no real explanation for why he remembers stuff is very disappointing, especially when they left it at the end of the first film kind of ambiguous, and it felt like maybe like she would just rekindle the relationship and then tell him over time, like you were saying, right? And in this case, it was just like, nope, your super special magic that, you know, the actual ministry uses doesn't work.
Yeah, because plot convenience.
all those people in New York slowly got their memories back.
But this is
Right?
this is the thing where I think J.K. Rowling shows her the holes in her skill set, because
Well, I don't know.
any competent writer could have found a competent script writer could have found a better way to translate that
You
to a
can
movie.
still do it in a couple sentences, just like she did, but it has to be better. It has to be different.
It was just lazy.
Yeah.
I
it
have a
was.
theory.
And it was frustrated.
That he was never meant to return, but he was basically the
Well-received.
breakout character of the first film, and everybody loved him so much that they're like, well, we're going to do 5 of these. We can't get rid of the fan favorite in movie 1, right? So they brought him back, and they didn't know what to do with him because most of the story structure was already done.
And the thing is, like, there are Quidditch players 70 years from the 20s, and their names are Kowalski. They're like twins or something. They're on one of the teams. So
I forgot
like
about that.
it's totally that's what they did. It's set up so that he has magical babies. You don't just pick a random Slavic last name and not follow up with it, especially when all of her other characters are named very specific white British sounding names.
Well,
That's very interesting.
It makes sense because there's only 4 families in the entire universe.
And now
so-
there's 5, the
Five.
Kowalskis.
Yeah.
But then they're only half wizards. So.
Right.
They can just take every obscure character from Harry Potter and be like, okay, guys,
So
their predecessor is in this movie now.
the
Fan
women
service.
in this movie got such a raw deal. Like,
time.
Queenie's story had the most development. She changed the most throughout the film. And I hate that it's because she is literally going crazy. Like, that sucks. We've seen crazy girlfriend storylines so many times. They do something insane. They snap. They kill somebody. They join Wizard Hitler. Like, that, it's so frustrating because she was so much better than that.
I think they were kind of, in the first one, she was kind of airheaded. You know, those just the way her airy,
Similar to like
maybe?
Luna, Luna Lovegood. She was like aloof
exactly
and
different. And I thought that made her character really interesting. And maybe they were like, well, maybe people will buy that she's like crazy now. And
that.
But that's the thing. They didn't do that with Luna because Luna is still a very intelligent,
Right.
strong person in her own quirky way, and that's what made her a lovable character.
Absolutely.
Right? But Queenie in this case, who can read minds, by the way, right?
which is the whole reason why Grindelwald wants her in the first place.
Of course. So let's pretend for a minute he can protect his mind, and maybe the mind of like his closest few people. You're telling me at that rally she didn't read anybody's mind and go, these are not great people?
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy that for a minute. She worked for the Ministry of Magic, which could not have been an easy job.
She's not
to
an
get.
idiot.
Right.
Like, yeah.
She's not an idiot.
She's they turned her into adorable, innocent sex pot kind of character. She went from Betty Boop to like Star Sapphire. She is insane because of love. Love is driving her to these her like on this bad path.
Which is a tired plot line for
It
women
is.
characters, especially.
All 4 of the women got kind of a raw deal,
And it was almost all because of dudes, too.
It makes even less sense here, though, because, yeah, it's cliched. And on top of that, it logically doesn't make any sense with this universe because Grindelwald's entire concept is that Muggles are a lower species. Right? He has the whole speech. He doesn't hate them. He finds some utility. It's a very,
Beast of burden.
fascist,
they're like dogs,
Nazi white
pets.
supremacist speech. It's what it is, right? It's a white supremacist speech.
It's the
right?
Egyptians and the Jews. It's like, we've heard this speech.
So how can Queenie stand there and think that somehow that's working out for her?
Now, don't get me wrong. It's very interesting to see one of the core characters defect, because that is something we never saw in the first Harry Potter series.
But again, it wasn't done well. Like if they did it in a book, a lot of the things that she wrote in this movie probably would have worked better in a book because you could have gone a lot further with it and given a lot more detail. But because of the format of a movie, it just didn't work at all.
I like the idea where they're like, well, what if one of the 4 of them actually started believing this stuff? But the way they handled it was so cliched, and it did a disservice to the Queenie character. What you set up in the first movie was easily killed in this second
But
one.
who of the other main characters could you have had defense?
Tina would have
That would have been
more sense.
the only one that I would have been okay with of all
Right?
of them.
I mean, she's already an aura. She's very big on rule. What?
Sorry, or
She's
Yeah,
very
I know,
big.
I'm
She's
sorry.
very big on rules. She believes in being disconnected from the non-wizarding world. Right? She actually follows some of those early steps already as part of her job and her personality. So her making that leap is a much shorter leap. And it's a logical leap. It's a process. She could be reasoned in that direction, which is supposed to be the scary thing about Nazis, is they took intelligent, thoughtful people, supposedly, and manipulated them into being these people, right? But in Queenie's case, she just kind of goes crazy. And so that, not only does that belittle her character, but it kind of belittles how much of villains these characters are supposed to be.
Right.
Because now they just seem like crackpots when they're supposed to be like people who can accomplish shit.
And the Death Eaters were much more impressive than whatever they're going to call the Grindelwald followers. I mean, the Death Eaters were prominent members of society. They were higher ups. They were the wealthy. They were the 1%. And they were the ones who were like, no, we're going to kill everyone.
They were calculated. They were highly intelligent and vicious. In this case, Queenie just comes off as going cuckoo, and somehow that's how she gets there. And that belittles the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. So, let's move on to another female character who got a poor, I guess, a whole... Lita Lestrange was easily the most interesting character. She had a great backstory. It was tragic. It was wonderful. She was very secretive and in pain constantly. And Zoe Kravitz played it very well. She always looked like she was in internal suffering, and then they kill her off in a really unceremonious. It made no sense for her to sacrifice herself. It didn't look like her sacrifice was actually going to do any good. She could have gotten out.
It didn't do any good because it was like an instant kill. Like, you know, what good? It didn't buy him any time.
Yeah.
I think that, so on one hand, I want to kind of applaud the planning here because her photo's in the first movie, and so they cast her while the first movie was being made.
Yeah, they were able to keep her on, too.
Which is cool. I appreciate that kind of planning, because since there are no books to go off of, you know, and this is still in process, that's great. But, because she's a Lestrange, she's supposed to be a bad guy, is what we're supposed to believe. And so you have two options. You just make her the bad guy we all think she is, or you don't. And they chose with the don't, which is fine. But, yeah, the death, it doesn't, she's not stalling so they can escape. Right? She's not sacrificing herself to save another. She's really just pissing off Grindelwald and getting killed while everybody watches.
Mm-hmm.
So is she the mom of Bellatrix?
No.
Okay,
so
I was going to say, because she would have had to have like a kid in that they didn't show.
Bellatrix was born Bellatrix Black. And
married
she married
Lestrange.
Rodolfo Lestrange, even though she was in love with Voldemort. And there's like weird...
She likes guys with no noses.
Something like that. But the problem still exists because the Lestrange family tree, according to this film, is done.
I actually did like the family tree thing, by the way. That was like one of the positive.
It was a cool
things about
feature.
the movie. Yeah. Anyway.
It was reminiscent of what they did in Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah,
in the house.
Yeah.
You know, which was cool.
Serious.
Yeah, that was cool.
It does make sense for the 20s that women wouldn't count as like full citizens. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bloodline concept, right? And I would think that
patriarchy,
Grindelwald and Voldemort's followers, right? That's what's important, is being pure blood. So the male line would be the one you'd want to track most of all.
But his male line is gone because Yusuf Kama is not a Lestrange. You know, he's the half brother of Lita, the half brother of Corvus.
Or there's some other Lestranges that we don't really know about. Ta-da!
Well, whoever
sure
doesn't fit in next time will be able to
Yeah,
change.
I'm sure that's going to be it. But I was just really impressed with the writing for Lita.
Except that it was a lot of poor decision making. Like that, she was just one bad decision to another. It seemed like throughout the whole movie.
Well, because even if she follows Grindelwald, if she really buys into it, at least that's somewhat consistent with the conflicted nature of her character, right? She's looking for answers, and maybe he can provide them.
Or maybe she wants to be like some sort of double agent like Snape, and I don't know.
But either way,
I don't think you could do Snape again.
I don't want you to.
But none of it happens, and she dies unceremoniously, unnecessarily. All it does, and maybe this is why she dies. She dies because they needed a reason to push Newt to pick a side.
Yeah.
Because they wrote the line where Newt doesn't pick sides. He doesn't do sides is the line, right? Well, you need him to pick a side because he's your hero, and so that's why he picks a side.
Which is also a tired storyline. The whole main character doesn't want to be involved in whatever the thing is that's
the reluctant hero.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it's the reluctant hero, and then it's the most cliched thing in the world. The woman he loved died at the hands of the enemy, so I'll kill him now.
But like he doesn't,
right?
He doesn't love her anymore because he's in love with Tina, but he kind of loves her still because
but then
he
also
used
his
to,
assistant's in love with him, and
which he has no idea because
how does he not have an idea? Like,
right?
gosh, she's throwing it at him, you know.
Like she's standing there with Niffler crap on her dress, like she loves you, dude.
Yeah.
Like come on.
So that battle, I thought was going to be a little bit cooler too, because Nicholas Flamel.
Oh, he was so pointless.
Yeah, that should have been
That was
Lita.
the dumbest fan service.
But when you had so you had him in there, he's the old man, fine. But then when he's like, all right, I'm going to go, I expected to see some cool stuff happening.
Yeah.
Right? See some magic we're not used to seeing because he is, I mean, how old is he at this point? He's like 1,000 years old, right?
Something like that. I don't know if they ever said his name, but he doesn't die until the, first movie of Harry Potter.
So I expected to see some payoff for that other than it just being a name drop for the sake of it being a name drop. Mm-hmm. And that's all it turned out to be. He didn't have anything they needed. He didn't provide information that was vital.
No, he was literally just fan service.
Literally.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. I'm so tired of things for fan service. There are so many cool pockets in the Harry Potter world that you can dig from that you don't need to just throw in an alchemist for no reason.
I think she knows that this is not as strong as Harry Potter. She knows she had the hits, Harry Potter. That's the big thing. So anything that she can do in these movies to make you think of Harry Potter is a good thing because that's a positive.
Right.
But it's really not in this
Just
case.
do Dumbledore and Grindelwald. That first movie could have been the young actors. Jamie Campbell Bower, who played Grindelwald in the first, in like 7 and 8, the films, he looks the exact same. You could have had him come back. You did have him come back for flashbacks, but that could have been your first movie. It didn't have to be.
It's the problem with prequel with sequels, right? Everybody wants to do a prequel because I don't even really understand why.
Because they build a fun story behind it,
But build forward. We have these characters now who are adults. Some of them get some really cool jobs after they leave Hogwarts. They have their own kids.
Or you can go... I'm okay with prequels when they're like so far in the past that it doesn't... you can't predict, this person's obviously going to marry this person to have this kid. That's
like
where
we
it's
talked
a
about
problem.
a couple weeks ago, like we'd like to see like a Knights of the Old Republic because it's so far in the past.
It won't affect anything.
Right. But in this case, we know who these characters are. We know where a lot of them need to end up. Like we were doing some math on this and like there's very specific spots some of these characters have to hit. And it creates problems like McGonagall.
Yeah.
Talk about shoehorning in stuff from the Harry Potter series. McGonagall shouldn't be teaching at Hogwarts for like 30 years.
Well, this is 8 years prior to her birth, according to the damn books.
Right, this is not a Pottermore thing. This is not a movie thing. This is straight up in the novels.
And, you can't tell me...
They gave her birth date in the novel?
No, she said how long... in the novels...
Yes, they did.
In the novels, she specifically says how long she's been teaching at Hogwarts. And... To Umbridge. And so that took place somewhere in 1995 or 1996. So if you take that minus 39 years, that gets you to the 60s, basically, 1957 or whatever it is, right?
She wouldn't have even been a student, but the Pottermore website and some of the books have the exact day, the exact year, and sometimes the exact time of day that these characters were born, including McGonagall, who was born 8 years after this is supposed to take place.
And
I kind of liked seeing her as a casual Harry Potter fan. It was cool to see McGonagall, but I mean, it did seem like she would be really, really young at this point, younger than what the actress was. Unless she's extending her life with a spell or like staying young with a spell.
I mean, look, a lot of the teachers, we don't know when they joined Hogwarts and we don't know how old they are. But we know when she joined. That is a straight up number in the novel.
It's
There's
her
no
and
gray
Trelawney that have the exact dates because Trelawney joined right after Dumbledore heard the prophecy.
So if you're concerned with that type of problem, right, don't pick that character. Pick a different teacher. There's a lot of teachers that you could pick from, but they wanted a name recognition from Harry Potter, and that's why they did it. And, look...
And for a casual fan like me, I picked up on it, which I didn't necessarily pick up on a lot of stuff.
And if her character becomes important in the next ones, fine. And if there's they could pull something silly where it's like, not that McGonagall, it's a relative.
Be her mom.
Right? It's her mom, it's an aunt, whatever. They could pull that, and... it feels a little retroactive to fix a problem, but fine.
At least you made an effort.
Right? So, again, we don't know. Some of these things may work themselves out by movie 3, 4, or 5.
But we're reviewing this movie on its own merits, so it's tough.
I'm just pointing it out so that way when the next movie comes out and it's McGonagall's, aunt It's not an I told you so. It's, this is how it was written now.
Right.
Right.
So I guess the one of the last things is Credence and Nagini and their pointless circus story. Like, that was...
Yeah.
It was unnecessary for him to join the circus.
I don't understand. So she is very much against Grindelwald because of what she is, right? She's considered lesser to him. So why would she ever go with the likes of him and Voldemort?
I don't know.
Because she becomes his snake, Voldemort's snake, right? So why?
There's no way I can even tell you. Like, she serves one purpose, and that is to follow Credence around in this film.
To give him someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And fan service, to name drop the word Nagini, to come up with this new curse. That the Maledictus thing, it's a really interesting idea, and I completely believe something this horrible would exist in this world, just like the Obscurus. But again, like, they didn't do anything with it.
I think it was only her, so that way we all knew, well, they're not going to kill her off, right? If it's just some random person that Credence is with, they were probably going to kill off that character at some point when Grindelwald wanted him alone.
No, you're right.
Right? But if you give a character that we know has to exist 60 years later,
Right.
then there you go. But it doesn't make any sense to me that that character's motivations would somehow change because she's still what she is.
Well, here's the timeline. Like, Voldemort is born this exact same year. These films are going to span from 1926 to 1945. We're going to see some huge time jumps, since this one only took about 9 months in between. So a lot can happen within that time. We're obviously going to see Nagini turn into a snake and never turn back. We're going to see Tom Riddle grow up. We're going to see Dumbledore change from suits to robes, I guess. Like, I don't know.
I do have a kind of a casual fan question. So I know that J.K. Rowling has said that Dumbledore is gay. Was that the nature of the relationship?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like it was implied, but then they were like trying not to go there.
Yeah.
That's why Jude Law's been very public since the movie released about how he thinks it's time for an openly gay Dumbledore, because that's what it's supposed to be, but the movie kind of tones it down.
The problem
it makes it
is,
a
like,
blood pact rather than them being in love with each other.
Right, and that's where I was questioning it, because I was like, okay, is the blood pact like a wizard thing, or like is that because they are lovers, or what is it?
I mean, it's a physical manifestation of what we know a blood pact to be, right? But I guess it's protected by magic, so they can't actually do harm to each other. It's like an unbreakable vow.
Right.
In the Harry
It seems
Potter.
Why
like a
not just
lazy
use
thing.
the unbreakable vow again? Like,
Negative connotation. I think that's what it comes down to. I think they're going to grow that love relationship. We're going to learn that Dumbledore and Grindelwald really were in love with each other.
Yeah.
And the blood pact has a positive connotation, whereas the unbreakable vow is more of a negative connotation, right?
Okay.
The unbreakable vow is to do things or you'll die.
I guess I'm
Right.
just the blood pact kind of bothered me because, and I mean that all makes sense. But then you again have the main character or a main character tied to the villain, so you can't, that whole thing was done in Harry Potter, and it's a problem.
But they did set it up, Grindelwald is alive at the end of the Harry Potter films. Well, not at the very end. Voldemort does kill him when he doesn't have the Elder Wand, but he was alive 1 through 6, and he was in Azkaban, and Dumbledore was still alive. So we know how this ends. Grindelwald doesn't die. He doesn't commit suicide like Hitler does. He lives on.
Right. And I believe that we're probably going to see in the third movie is Dumbledore and Newt, or primarily Newt, trying to figure out how to break the blood pact. Right? Kind of like the journey
Horcruxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's why it was a little bothersome.
Yeah, it's the same mechanic, right? It's the same mechanism that they're using here. I think the problem with Dumbledore, though, like you're talking about, like Tom Riddle, right? Like we see a flashback to Tom Riddle at the age of, what is he, like 12 when he can start the fire or whatever?
No, even younger.
Is he younger?
Yeah, he was like 8 or something.
Dumbledore doesn't look that much different
Right.
in that flashback.
10 years, man.
You
Because
know?
Dumbledore meets Tom in 1937.
Well, it's kind of the X-Men thing with, Patrick Stewart and
James
James
McAvoy.
McAvoy. Yeah, like how does he go from one to the other?
Well,
At
the
some
problem
point they
with the X-Men
intersect.
movies is that each one in this new series takes place 10 years later. Stop that.
Right.
Stop going a decade ahead.
But the problem is, like, that's the problem with these prequels, right? When you recast characters, at some point they have to catch up. And in this, you're going to have to catch up to flashbacks we've seen.
Yeah.
And they chose to make Dumbledore still look like a Merlin-type wizard in the flashbacks. Jude Law turning into that within the next 10 years seems odd. I guess it's
But
obviously...
you can only young down Michael Gambon so much. You can
Yes.
old up Jude Law
But
as
you-
much as you want.
You could have picked a different actor, though, like they did for
Absolutely.
other characters.
Yeah, like Jamie Campbell Bower, who they're still using as young Grindelwald.
Was it just me or did Grindelwald not actually commit really many crimes in this?
The
title
breakout,
is literally called The Crimes of Grindelwald, and what he kills a family, I guess.
the breakout and then the murder of the family is really it.
That's
So
it.
it's not like a whole movie of crimes.
I
But
mean,
the breakout was that really a crime? Like he was,
Yeah,
he was.
escaping prison
I
is
mean,
a crime.
I guess, but he's already in prison. Like so. I mean, that's all kind of one thing for me.
I think it's more about they talk about the crimes.
right, but he hasn't done any like.
He's already done them. They keep referencing the crimes is the
Okay.
problem, right? Well, no, look,
I get the Hitler references and stuff that he's a bad guy,
it's
but
not
like,
a good title.
Yeah.
It's weird to me as well for those who are keeping score at home. They changed the naming convention after 9 films. This is the first film to have a different naming structure. They were all, Harry Potter and whatever, Fantastic Beasts and whatever. This is just Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
and there's no crimes.
And, well, yeah.
Like one crime.
So I don't know. I don't know why it's named that. It could have just been called And the Rise of Grindelwald. Probably would have made more sense. Or
The followers.
The Fall of
Or-
Queenie.
The Followers of Grindelwald or something like that would have been more interesting, more accurate. I'm not sure.
The Magic Dick of Newt Scamander.
Yeah, I like that one.
I mean, even
All these bitches love him.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I mean, it's not like he goes all over the world finding beasts. He's like looking through New York City, so it's not like that title.
Looking through his briefcase
Yeah.
for most of it, like
Right? Like, so it's
So
not like that
that's-
title's that good either.
that's my other issue. Like, they should have just kept with the first naming convention. It should have been Newt Scamander and his Fantastic Beasts. Newt Scamander and the Crimes of
Except
Grindelwald.
I don't want Newt Scamander. I'm
don't
hoping
either, but-
I'm hoping it's because he's not the main character for all these movies.
So I think I might have figured out why they didn't do that now.
Is it because I don't want him because he's not going to be the main character of all the movies?
That's exactly why.
Yes.
Think
I
about this,
hope
right?
so.
So he's the lead in this first film.
Yeah.
He kind of shares it with Dumbledore and Grindelwald in the second film. His role is minimized, right? In the next one, Dumbledore is going to have a larger role.
He has to. I don't see how he couldn't.
But
So at some point, he's going to have to phase himself out because he is not a master wizard. That's not what his strength is. He can't
He's
duel.
a zookeeper.
Right, so he's not going to duel Credence. He's not going to duel Grindelwald.
Yeah.
right, but
Right.
how are they going to? I mean, if it's called Fantastic Beasts, you have to keep it a
Sure.
theme of Fantastic
You have-
Beasts.
And that sucks. They were shoehorned
Yeah.
so much in this.
You're telling me Dumbledore can't get some beasts?
I mean, then it's going to see really forced. Not like
I
everything
mean,
in this movie seemed to seem
It
forced.
it
but-
felt forced in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem with the naming convention. I don't know what you would have called it.
They could
Just
probably
call it Wizarding
translate
World.
it.
You
You could
could-
like Albus Dumbledore and the Fantastic Beasts or something, and then you're transferring it to an Albus Dumbledore
Like
title.
the Lost World, Jurassic
Yeah,
Park.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you could have just done Wizarding World, right? Wizarding World and Fantastic Beasts, or just Fantastic Beasts. Wizarding World, The Crimes of Grindelwald, right? Because then it can take place anywhere, anytime, with any characters, as long as it's in this cinematic universe.
Right.
Right? It worked with Harry Potter because he had 7 books to go off of with one main character.
Yeah.
And so that made sense. But at this point, you don't have that anymore, or you purposefully are not doing it that way. So the naming convention kind of breaks down.
It does bother me because eventually I feel like once these 5 movies are done, we're going to see the other book, Quidditch Through the Ages, and it'll just be like 5 films of magic sports, and I'm just...
I love
over
sports
that.
films, so if they wanted to do like a trilogy of like, really cool...
Like Rudy, except with Quidditch.
I mean, or, some type of underdog type thing, rise to greatness. Like, that could be cool. I
Jenny
would watch
Weasley
that.
became, a professional Quidditch player. I would watch movies surrounding older Weasleys as Quidditch players.
No, make it like Creed, except with Quidditch, where she's killed in a Quidditch match.
You could do it
Yeah.
as
By
her.
Yvonne
You could
Drago.
use her as a professional Quidditch player, like do a sequel that
and
takes
then
place
Albus
after.
Severus.
And then, well, think about it though, because like you
Dumb
could have,
fucking name.
it's a terrible name, but then you could have cameos from other characters, right? It's the idea of like the Picard show that they're doing for Star Trek. You have this universe. Why pigeonhole yourself into this box?
I have a better idea. Air Bud, but with Quidditch.
What would the animal be?
Luna.
Luna.
Look at it, like our dog.
Yeah, your dog. That was my plan the whole time.
Well, okay, but I figured we'd use like a magical creature since
No.
it's a Harry Potter.
That's what's going to
universe.
make it great, is it's a muggle dog.
It's a muggle dog. I like it. A muggle dog.
She's been held down from the beginning. People told her she couldn't do it.
I
It's a
mean,
muggle dog.
That's right.
anybody listening from Warner Brothers,
Call
give
me.
us, give us a call.
Yeah, Rachel will write it, but I'm the idea man.
That's true.
And Luna listens to me the best, so
Yeah. I think she might actually.
Anyway,
Yeah, so that is I guess that kind of wraps it up for us on Fantastic Beasts. Do you guys want to give it a letter grade, or
there is one final thing I want to throw out there. It's just real
were
quick.
you mad there wasn't like a end credits?
No, I don't care.
That's where I thought he was going to.
I do feel like though maybe we need a mechanic in the credits that's like, hey, don't bother waiting.
I actually
around.
Googled it halfway through the credits. I was like, does Fantastic Beasts 2 have a after credits scene? And something came up and said there's no after credits scene, so then we left.
I had already
Nice.
seen an article that said that, so I knew we were good. But like, it would be nice if like a movie would tell you. But I know that's the whole point. No, so at the end of towards the end when they meet back up with Dumbledore and Newt's giving him the blood pack thing, and Dumbledore raises his arm so the little handcuffs can fly back, right? I think it would have been cooler if Dumbledore just took them off himself to show how powerful he is and that he was just playing along
That
the
would
entire
have been
time.
a boss move, man.
Like he does when he's older, right? Where he just like
You mean
leaves
like
the
when,
office.
when Superman is just like walking in handcuffs,
Exactly.
but you know this guy can just bust
It's
out
just
of
a
those
formality.
handcuffs. Yeah.
Right. I think it
Yeah.
would have been cool if Dumbledore just took them off
I do
himself
like that,
and
yeah.
whisked them back.
I like that in
Well,
the same way I like the Superman.
Had his
handcuff
glove
thing.
return them or something like that, right?
I mean, they weren't there to stop him. They were there to monitor him. They kept track. They
Like
were,
an ankle
they
monitor?
were Fitbits.
Right, but I still
How
think
many
it would have
steps
been
did he take?
it would have been cool for him to do it, just to basically show that like, look, I could have gotten out of these anytime I
Look,
wanted
anybody
to.
can take a Fitbit off really easily,
You
so
know,
that's not that
true.
impressive.
You get my point. All right, letter grades.
I mean, I'm going to go D- because there's a couple things that were kind of cool.
So tell me,
D- is
what's
still kinda
one
harsh.
thing that you liked about
The family
film?
tree thing was cool.
Okay.
And the scene at the beginning, even though it didn't make sense with Grindelwald, escaping, there was some cool stuff going on with that. It was cool to see a fully adult wizard using
They
full powers.
Yeah, they showed him at like using really powerful
Yeah.
magic. They
Which was something you don't really
Fire
see in
dragons
the
at the
Harry
end?
Potter universe.
they
Yeah.
flat out said they were going to wipe out all of Paris. So that was cool.
Yeah, and I liked that aspect of it, but really, I mean, and Jacob was good, but other than that, I was pretty much disappointed by the entire thing. It felt very bloated. There just was not enough there.
Too many threads.
Too many threads, not enough content.
I mean, I found it entertaining. There were parts of it I liked. That ending with the dragon thing, like, it was kind of cool, but it kind of just reminded me of a variation on the Skybeam kind of concept, right? It's just an energy thing that's going to wipe stuff out.
If they would just change the color once.
And I wasn't entirely clear what they were doing. Were they just stalling for it to run out? Or like, what were they doing? Like, they weren't really fighting it. And maybe that's what I was expecting Flamel to do, was create like his own dragon to fight it or something. That could have been cool, but they didn't do that. So, I mean, I'm not going to be quite as harsh as you were, Ryan, because I still found it entertaining. I would give it a C-.
Okay.
Simply because I would watch it again. I don't think it's great. I would watch it again.
I would watch any of the Harry Potter movies over this one easily.
I agree.
And some of the Harry Potter movies were C or C- movies for me.
They were.
I mean, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys would agree at least on one of those movies. But.
It's harder for me to separate those because I've read the book so many times.
Prisoner of Azkaban and Deathly Hallows Part 1 are boring-ass movies.
But they're still both better than this movie.
Yes, yeah.
Fair
Less
enough.
convoluted
You mean
plots.
the magic camping trip?
Yeah, the magic camping trip. Ron freaks out over his two best friends naked hologram. Like,
Look, if you're gonna split a Harry Potter movie and a book into 2 movies, the previous 3 would have been great choices. Because those are tomes of knowledge. But, Ray.
yeah, I would do a C- too.
You guys are being way too nice.
Maybe a D. Like, my problem is the same with Infinity War. Like, I drastically liked Infinity War better, but I guess I just need to see the next one before I can really process this one, and that sucks. That's not how you're supposed to see a film.
That's why I stopped watching the Hunger Games movies, because that second one, there was no story. It was literally just a continuation of, and there's no ending to it. That's anyway. Sorry,
I hate that there was no ending to that. That was my least favorite part.
I stopped watching it.
But it was taken straight from the book, which is even more frustrating.
That there is no District 12, that whole thing?
Yeah. He likes it.
That's my favorite of the books in the trilogy. I'm not a huge fan of the movies, to be honest. I think the books were much better. Well, the first 2. I feel like she ran out of ideas for the third one.
now.
We are way off topic.
What was your guys' favorite Fantastic Beasts? There was a lot in here. Some of them were really cool looking. Some of them were kind of stupid.
Well, I was, I don't know, Phoenix. I love the Phoenix. It's my favorite mythological creature.
Phoenixes are cool. I think just because I like animals that I can pet. The one that he used the toy with, whatever that was, I don't remember.
Oh, the big lion thing?
Yeah, the big lion thing.
The
And actually, that was a good part that I liked,
it was
too.
the luck dragon.
Where, what's the girl's name?
Tina.
Tina used the little toy because she remembers seeing it. I thought that was nice, too.
It reminded me of Falcor.
Oh, yeah. The face had, there were some similarities in the eyes, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like this long
Flowing.
dog
He's like
dragon, you know?
I thought he looked like a flower cat. Because, like, the mane
petals.
looked like petals, and it was definitely kind of lionish. And
Okay, fair enough.
mine was the Kelpie, the horse at the beginning.
She did research and got the names of all
No,
the
they
animals.
said
He
the
says
Kelpie,
it like
like,
6 times.
yeah.
Man, I must have missed
the
that.
seaweed horse. Like, I
seaweed
thought he
horse.
was really cool looking.
Those are actually things.
Completely pointless scene.
Leafy
but,
seahorse. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Look, the reason I'm not as harsh on this one is there are other movies we saw this year that I would watch this over. And I think
That's fair.
puts it
A Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in
yeah,
Time.
definitely A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
That's the only one I can think of.
Well, I'd have to go back and look, but there's some.
I'd rewatch this over Pacific Rim Uprising.
I would
That's
watch
hurtful.
Pacific Rim,
It's
yeah.
hurtful.
And I didn't really like Pacific Rim that much.
Yeah.
The second one.
It didn't cancel the apocalypse quite like the first one.
What's your guys' houses?
Gryffindor?
Ravenclaw, obviously. Do you guys know your Ilvermorny house?
No, I don't even know what that is.
I used to know. If you said them, I'd probably know.
It's the Slytherin equivalent. I don't know.
It's a bird. It's like a thunderbird or something.
Yeah, you're the Thunderbird. So I guess you're the Horned Serpent.
Yes, that one. Because I did the test when they first let that out before the movie.
I'm good with a thunderbird. That's kind of cool. It's a car.
I'm good with a horned serpent because I like snakes.
I wanted the Wampus because it's just basically like a telepathic cat. It's a Native American mythological creature. But I got the Puckwudgie, which is basically this ugly gnome-looking asshole. So I'm not too happy
Sounds
about
like
that.
a pug dog.
Look it up. It looks like an imp. It's really upsetting.
Fair enough. All right.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for us. We are. What are we doing next week? We are reviewing Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Ralph Breaks the Internet and not Creed 2.
We are gonna Are you?
We're doing every single movie that you guys want to see.
Are you seeing Creed 2 this weekend?
No, because I was planning on seeing Wreck-It Ralph for the podcast. But I would go see. I would go see Creed 2.
We're seeing Ralph.
It's our podcast. We can do what we want. We're seeing both.
You guys obviously want to do Wreck-It Ralph, so I will do Wreck-It Ralph for you guys. But
Wreck-It Ralph fits more of the tone of what we usually do. I love the Rocky franchise.
Did we review the original Creed?
We didn't, but we all went to go see it together.
But also, that was a surprise. That was not a movie any of us thought was going to be good.
Nope.
I had moderate expectations.
Okay, most people did not think that movie was
You and
good.
I did not.
No,
all right,
absolutely.
let's do it. Creed 2 review
Thank you.
next week. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we're going to do, and that's what it's going to be. So if you haven't seen Creed 1, you should go see it anyway because it's fantastic. If you haven't seen the other Rocky movies, skip 5.
Derek and I are still going to go see Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah, you
we'll
guys
do
can
a
give a
quick
quick take,
movie
or
take.
something.
Yeah, we'll do a quick movie take. So go to heroespodcast.com, go to our YouTube channel, check out our quick movie take. That'll come out Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Something like that.
It might even be out by the time you listen to this podcast.
And then the episode after that is the Screen Heroes Awards, guys.
No pressure. 3rd annual Screen Heroes Awards.
Oh, I never feel pressure, actually. So
I have to make
I just show up.
I need to make all the equipment work. That's not as easy. But yeah, that's going to be fun.
If you can, check out our TeePublic store. You can find it on our website, Heroes Podcast. It is in the drop-down menus. But we have a lot of new content, a lot of new merch. One shirt for every series.
All
right?
the all the podcasts have their own themed shirts now. We've got ShazamGate 18 shirt. Like, we got some cool stuff. Go check it out. It's fun. It'll be cool.
TeePublic runs sales all the time, so you can check them out.
We are having a Black Friday sale. There is a Black Friday sale in the TeePublic store, so you're going to want to check that out.
He just got really excited, guys. Check
it
out. Check it out.
Did. All right. That's it. We're Buster Props, Siren Ray, the Star Trek dude, at Heroes Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch, or at Screen Heroes Pod on Twitter. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.